There must have been at least like 20 people who told me that Harvard doesn't negotiate and you shouldn't necessarily try. When someone says no, that's their first offer.
Oh, another Harvard master. You know, like masters are not as valuable as undergrad, as PhDs. Like people throw around ideas like that, right?
Someone called it increasing the surface area of serendipity. That's your job in this world.
So you actually got Fulbright scholarship, right?
I'm partially funded.
Okay.
Yeah. The fun story is that they initially didn't give me any funding. There must have been at least like 20 people who told me that Harvard doesn't negotiate and you shouldn't necessarily try. There was only one person who told me that they knew someone who had gotten funding from Harvard by writing to the financial aid office. And I took that as a sign. I think I probably wrote them like 6 or 7 emails. They said no every other time before they finally said yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I negotiated my way into a 50% scholarship from the school. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice.
I think the important thing that I've learned is when someone says no, that's their first offer.
Yeah.
There's not much that you lose
Exactly.
by asking.
If you keep trying.
Yeah, you don't want to hound them. You
Yeah.
don't want to be rude.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with making a case.
Yeah.
Again, this is really hard, right? Like, at least for I think Asians, you don't typically do this. Like
Yes.
my approach to university is very different from how Americans approach university. I remember feeling like I was bugging a professor because I wrote to them and they didn't respond. And I was talking to a friend and she told me, they are paid to do this. Responding to students' emails is part of their job. It's in their JD. And that really reframed how I was thinking about it. I'm still very grateful when professors respond.
Yeah.
But I think I'm less stressed about asking them for things.
Yes. What is the world you came from and what made you decide to came to Harvard?
I grew up in a really small town in India. It's a small town called Vellore. It's in the southernmost part of India. Before that, I grew up in an even smaller village. Imagine a population of 40,000. Now, to people in the US, 40,000 might seem like a lot. But for people from India and China,
Yes.
that's nothing.
Right.
I worked with a small startup nonprofit. We're called Guardians of Dreams. We worked mainly in issues of child protection, essentially supporting children who grew up in orphanages and shelter homes in India. And I stayed with them for 6.5 years.
Oh, wow.
At the 6-year mark, when I felt like I'm doing a good job,
Right.
I felt like now I need to try something different.
And now that you're in Boston, in the US, for the first time, right? Like
First
because
time,
of
yeah.
Harvard, right? What was this experience like? Was it a shock to you?
I always knew that intellectually that the world is big, right? Like if you'd asked me, hey, have you thought about working in Africa or like China? Like, have you thought about visiting these places and working there? I would have said, yeah, sure, as a tourist, why not? I think there's a difference between knowing that intellectually and then really feeling it. And when you're in Boston and you talk to people, you live with people who are from other countries, you talk to them every day, you find out how they grew up, you find out that like Asian parents are similar in many ways, also similar to some African parents. You celebrate in their traditions, their food, and you can now really imagine living a life elsewhere. That's what's been the biggest change. I now know people in these places.
Yeah, you have a sense of familiarity.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
don't think I would have got as much a sense of familiarity by just reading or
Absolutely.
it's living with people who are so different that like the world truly now feels both big and small.
That's
in
right.
good ways.
I'm surrounded by a lot of like international students from China as well, right? Like when people talk about, oh, another Harvard master, you know, like masters are not as valuable as undergrad, as PhDs, like people throw around ideas like that, right? And people talk about, oh, what is the entry requirement and this and that.
Talking about like getting in, right? Like, I think it is true that it's harder to get into undergrad for sure. It's harder to get into a PhD program for sure. I am grateful that it wasn't so hard to get in because then maybe I wouldn't be here.
That's right. That's right. I think those are all solid points. And I definitely respect undergrads and PhDs the same way I respect masters, right? It's really about what you make out of every experience you have. Like
Exactly.
the people you talk to. And sometimes you might have 100 useless conversation, and then there's one enlightenment moment that can change the course of your life.
Yeah.
And I think going to Harvard or going to, I don't know, any schools in the world, you are just like accumulating those opportunities. So then one day, maybe after talking to 300 people, you will have a epiphany moment, and that will completely change your life.
Yeah, someone called it increasing the surface area of serendipity. That's your job in this world.
Yes.
You want to increase the surface area so that great coincidences happen.
Yes.
That you're in a room with someone who happens to know someone who does the exact same thing that you do, and maybe you start an organization together, maybe you do research together, maybe you have the best conversation of your life.
Yes.
I think that's how I've thought about my opportunity at Harvard. I've talked to lots of faculty, and when I talk to professors, I usually feel this need to justify why they should talk to me, where I'll be like, hey, I've actually done work for 6 years in this, I've thought about this a lot, I've written about this before, this is the research I'm doing. Most of the times they don't need all of that.
Right.
They know you're a student at the school that they're teaching at,
Yes.
which means they will just talk to you.
Yeah. And you should just focus on showing who you are.
Yep, and being genuinely interested.
Yes, and talk about your passion and your vision of your future, right?
Correct, exactly. I think they get really excited about people who have like big dreams. They consider it a privilege to talk to you because that's their job, that's what they get to do. And
Yeah.
I think reframing this in your head as, and this is something that I still struggle with even though I'm graduating in a couple of months, is you're already here. There's no more proving
Yeah.
that needs to be done. Now you just have to make the most of this opportunity that you've been given. And a lot of that comes down to just asking for help, being like, hey, I really want to do this. The biggest mistake I could make is not trying, is not talking to that professor, is not applying to be in that club. And yeah, if there's like one thing that I've been telling people is the downside consequences for asking are like literally
It's
minimal.
zero. Yeah.
Yeah, might hurt your ego a little bit, but then you can just complain about them and move on, you know, like.
Yeah, that's
It's-
right. So one thing I've noticed since I studied at Chen School of Public Health is that coming from more of a realistic point of view, right? Like I've been through COVID in both the US quarantine and the quarantine in China. And I've seen the economy downfall during and after COVID. I think in the years of 2022 through 2024, or like 2020 through 2023, the whole world was in a very pessimistic view,
Yeah.
or like not sure what's going on
Yeah.
in the future. And then we all have a lot of complaints and wanted to go back to, you know, the 2019 and the 2018s of the world, right? And then when I came to Chen, I realized a lot of my classmates, their countries are at war.
Yeah,
Like they are like literally surviving, and they're still trying to get their education and help their people. That was a big shocking lesson to me.
yeah, that our problems are very different.
And you could sit in the same classroom next to each other.
Yeah, and I think that encouragement coming from people who have done all these cool things
Yeah.
is probably the biggest, like, long-lasting takeaway from
Yeah.
the experience.
And this is exactly why I want to start this video, right? Like I've noticed that we have all this talent asset around us, right? People have so much like valuable and precious perception experience
Yeah.
toward the world. And I really wanted to document it and like have this type of conversation so like it can be found somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is wonderful. I wish we had more of these conversations.
Thank you so much for Akshay here today. I think we had a lot of fruitful conversation, and hopefully it's helpful for you. And if you find this conversation helpful in any sense, please subscribe, click like, and keep follow through. We will have more similar inspiring stories to come.
Thank you so much, Joy. This was a lot of fun. And yes, of course, please subscribe, like, and click the bell icon.